Welcome to the Simply Authentic podcast with Angie and Tanya, where we hope to inspire you to dream big and push past your fear, empower you to take charge of your own life, and challenge you to be the most authentic self you can be.
Welcome back to the Simply Authentic podcast. I'm Tanya Murfin.
And I'm Angie Mullings. And we have a guest in studio today. We're very excited to have Paula Dougherty with us today. Paula is a longtime friend, so I really appreciate you being here. She is the owner of Achieve Private Wealth Ameriprise Financial, and I'm going to let her tell more about herself. So, welcome, Paula.
Thank
Glad you're
you.
here.
Thank you, ladies, so much for having me here today. I am so excited,
Good.
not only to see you both, but to get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is money.
Yes.
So, yay. Yes. So I have been a certified financial planner for many, many years. Actually, I started out with Ameriprise Financial in 1994 as an intern. And then I became an advisor in 1995, so it's been a few years ago.
Yeah, a couple years.
It's a wonderful company. And then I am now the CEO, Angie, as you said, of Achieve Private Wealth, Ameriprise Financial. So it's just been a wonderful journey.
Yeah.
It's
And
my
do
calling.
you still enjoy it? So you've done
I
it
do.
for a long time.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple years.
You're
You
one
learn-
of the lucky ones. We talk about this a lot of times that we found real estate and it was our passion, and not everyone finds their passion.
Right.
So it's great and you need someone when you're talking about someone's financial future and helping them plan and set goals and that kind of thing. It needs to come from someone who's passionate about what they're doing, who stays on top of what's going on and that kind of thing.
It's more about the people than it
Yeah.
is anything.
And everybody's so different.
I like to
Right.
see people succeed.
Yeah.
And get what they want for themselves. So
For sure.
And I'm guessing we talk about relationship building. That's what our business is about.
Yeah.
Same for you.
yes, absolutely.
Because they have to trust you.
They
right?
do. They become like family.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, same for us
so
too.
lucky in that.
Yeah.
Same. So since we're starting off a new year, we really wanted to get into talking about some of just the basics. Some of our listeners probably have been financial planning for years, but others maybe not have even set a budget for themselves. So let's talk about just some of the things. Walk us through a few of the very basic things like budgeting and getting organized. What you like to start with when you meet with a client.
Sure. So, first of all, if you think that you're looking for a financial planner, I think the first step is to reflect on what it is that you think that you want, or why is it that you're seeking a financial planner, or that you're just even giving a really good look to your finances. So I think that's the first place to start. And whatever that is, that may mean you need to seek a professional, or some things that you could probably do on your own.
Sure.
But the main thing is, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit, is just about what are your goals? Like what is it that's on your heart, and what is it that you are hoping to achieve? I think that is the first step in anything that we do, but especially when you're thinking about your money, because we all majority of people do have limited resources up to a point, and so you just need to think, okay, well, what is it that I want to achieve, that I want to take a look at? And then for some people, maybe that's looking at the big picture, and they want to take more of a broad view. And some individuals are, I really just have this goal in mind, and I want to be able to achieve that. And then thinking through just strategies, and sometimes that really is best to talk to someone else that's been down that path before. Of okay, here are some strategies that we could employ. So I think just thinking through what it is that you are really wanting to do and wanting to see your money do for you. So our goal as financial planners is just to help individuals to have the best life that they can with the money that they have. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hear you saying, so you've got to either write down or realize your goals first. So with that, does a budget come? Because a lot of people, whether you're a spender or a saver, and Angie and I were talking about this earlier, right? You're either one or the other. And I tend to believe that you're born that way. And born, you're taught that. You know, your family are spenders or savers, right? And then that can reverse or it can change at any point in your lives because now you're in charge of your own money versus growing up with parents with money or whatever.
Right.
So how do you feel about that? What else does somebody have to do? Do they have to set a budget?
So that's a really good point. I was just talking to someone with young children recently, and they were talking about how to raise their children to be financially savvy and money smart.
Right.
And I said, well, first of all, don't underestimate what they can learn early and that they are always watching.
Yes.
So they are observing their parents or the adults around them, how they handle money, how they deal with money, the decisions they make. So, and that flow of things. So don't underestimate that. When it comes to setting a budget, I typically recommend that individuals just examine their goals. So, and we talked about that here just a few minutes ago, and break those down into two categories, short-term and long-term. So short-term may be like a car or a vacation, whereas long-term may be college education for your children or retirement, something down the road. And then, and this is key, is really examining your income and your outgo. So what is, and most people kind of break it down monthly. It's a little bit easier to look at your month to month than for the entire year. And it's a little too tedious to look at it every week. So just getting an idea of what do you have coming in each month? What do you have going out each month? And just see where you have a choice in your spending. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I would suggest breaking that down again into two different categories, fixed and discretionary. So fixed would be, these are the things that I have to pay for, like food, clothing, things like that, the mortgage, rent,
utilities,
place to live, housing. And then discretionary would be more like entertainment, vacations. So it's what I like to call the have-tos and the choose-tos. So this is what I have to spend money on to get on in life, and then this is what I'm choosing to. And then I usually recommend to individuals just be sure to pay attention to what I call out-of-pattern spending, like the holidays, when extra gifts come up. Or I have some clients that buy propane, and so they'll pay for that twice a year.
Right.
Or property taxes; those are coming. You know, those come due at the beginning, at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So you know, we've seen that recently. So car maintenance. If a refrigerator breaks down, those are those one-offs, but they're gonna happen, so we know that. So you want to build in some flexibility into your budget, and then just evaluate your budget. Obviously, the goal is to spend less than what you earn.
Of course.
You know, so and it may take a little bit of discipline and determination.
A lot, yes.
To get there. So that's okay. There may be a couple of stops and starts as a person gets their budget in line, and that's okay. You have to give yourself some grace on that as you're just getting used to adjusting to that cash flow.
Yeah.
So what you have going on, and you may need to cut down on your discretionary expenses. So you know, if sometimes people don't like that, but if you have your eye on a goal, that's what you may need to do to apply the money to that goal, right? So, but don't give up. You know, I mean, I just think you'll get it right.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
Like anything else in life, I think it's a series of starts and stops. I know that's how it has been for me over the years. Just I start out really good, and I think a lot of people, again, we're at the first of the year, we're thinking about our goals and what we need to do in order to achieve those goals. And so you go at it with gusto, right? And I'm gonna set these goals, and hopefully we did a podcast recently where we talked about SMART goals, making them specific and measurable and all those. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So we emphasize doing that, but over time, our commitment to that seems to wane a little bit. So, but I'm guessing if I decide that let's say I've got an extra $50 a month. That's all. That's okay, right?
okay.
I mean, anything that you can
Fantastic.
save and put
You're
away.
in the black.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So it's getting you one step closer to that goal. So I don't want our listeners to think, oh my goodness, I need to put away, if my goal is to get my kid through college, well, hopefully you've got a little time to plan for that. And if you're putting back $50 a month, that adds up.
Absolutely. Start early.
Yeah.
Yes.
I say early and often.
Early and often.
Start early and save as often as you can.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I would also say, you make a good point, Angie, that you don't want it to be so rigid that actually sometimes less rigid is better or less record keeping. So the more simple you can make it, because if it's too rigid, then it's likely going to fail. And then you don't, like you said, people get so far and then they kind of give up because it didn't go as they planned. And I would say plan on that, because you need to be flexible.
Absolutely.
Things are going to come up. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And starting that savings account, so there's several different thoughts here, but the number of Americans who have a savings account is very low. We were talking about that earlier. We should have Googled that, but you may know the statistic on it. It's very low, surprising. So young people especially, and people our age, if you've not been a saver through your life, now these emergent situations that can happen anytime. Fridge goes out, car breaks down, got to get a new car, whatever it is. What are tips for somebody to get started in savings and not touching it? Because that's hard for all of us, because you've got, once you get a little money in there and a little kitty, it's hard not to touch it. And I remember as a young person, when I started my first, it was a 403B at that time, the guy said to me, if you don't see it and you can't get your hands on it, it accrues without you ever being attached to it. And so I kind of feel that way about a savings account, but you can get to your savings account. What tips do you give people to?
So, of course, it depends on where they are. If they're a young
course.
person or if they're an older
course.
person. Older individuals usually have a checking account established. Your college age or coming out of high school normally don't have that yet, but it's a great start to start a checking. And I kind of envision checking as that's your in and out account. That's the one you're going to pay the bills on. Yeah. And then a savings account is going to be for the extra. And even if you can move that now into a money market that's paying a higher interest rate.
Agree.
And it takes maybe one more step to get that money back into your checking.
Right.
Anything where it's like, we almost call it a level 2, where it's like, okay, level 1's the checking, pretty accessible, to your point, Tanya.
Yes.
And then level 2 is, okay, it's a little farther away and it's going to take me actively moving that money back into my checking, going online and doing that to make it just a little bit more out of reach, a little bit not as easy just to use the debit card or whatever, or Venmo it. So yes, so I think that's a good point. To absolutely what you said with regard to like a retirement plan.
Right.
That's a long term.
Yes.
When we set those up, IRAs or 403Bs, or someone's participating in their company retirement plan, we just basically say, just keep putting that money away, and it's not accessible to you. It can be if necessary, but really the point is you don't want it to be. That's not your emergency money.
No.
Yeah.
So if we can get individuals to start saving, we start there. That's always the first layer, is having a cushion. And we recommend at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, if not more. Really 6 to 9 is a little bit better, but that seems so far out for some people that it's just baby steps. Just get at least 3 months of savings put away. And that by savings, I mean monthly expenses.
Yes.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Because you really don't want your first go-to to be a credit card.
Right.
Right. And then you've got to pay off that credit card anyway. That's people, so people use that as an extension of their income, and that it can feel like you're spending less, but that can actually add up very quickly, because we're human.
Gosh.
We easily forget what we put on that card.
Yes.
In our day-to-day because we're so busy.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and then you get the bill and you go, oops,
Yeah.
now I have to pay it or I have to pay interest on it.
Yep.
So
And that interest
preferably.
is high.
It is high, and it has really gone up as interest rates. The Fed has raised interest rates very aggressively the last year and a half. While that's very attractive on the money market and the savings side and the CDs, it's a good market for savers. It is not a great market for loans and credit cards and things like that right now. That's the flip side of interest rates going up.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you this question, and I know you, so I know you were very probably sensible the day you were born, but sensible with money,
Predetermined, good with money.
If I could go back and talk to my college age self, what would you say to that person? What are some steps that you just maybe not even, because not everyone goes to a 4-year college, but let's say you're in your early 20s and what would you go back and say to yourself, or what would you advise someone who walks in your office and they're 20, and where do they start?
That's a great question. And I hope that I hear that financial planning is now being taught in some form or fashion in high school, but it's very hit and miss. And so I would just advocate for that to be a required course,
agree.
either in high school. We had economics.
Yes.
But that really wasn't the same. I mean, just simple budgeting, ledger, in your checkbook, how to bring down your balance.
The basics,
and
yes.
I do miss that for now, how that's become kind of gone by the wayside, because I learned on the checkbook ledger how to subtract out when you wrote a check and keep a balance. And I think that is a great exercise still to especially teach your children on, is here's what you have. And then as you write those checks and make those debits, because it's so easy right now, we all do this, to go and just either put the debit card in the ATM to get cash out, or Venmo it now, or charge it, and you don't actually see it. Where it used to be, you would have to see the ledger of the money going in when you got paid or made a deposit, and subtracted when you wrote that check or took money out. And so people just don't typically pay attention to their balances anymore unless they go on their app or online. I had someone years ago tell me he just went through the ATM to get money out to see what his balance was. He'd get the little receipt.
I've heard that too.
And so I thought, that's actually commonplace. And so then they know how much is in there for the week.
I just hadn't even thought about that. When we were talking about goals, we were talking about how we write them down so that we can see them. We want to see them all the time, because most of us are visual, right? We need to see that. And you're absolutely right. These kids today, they don't see what's coming in and what's going out. And such an important piece of that.
It is. Also, I think, like, as you said, if you were talking to your younger self, really taking a look at what your income is, your outgo is, that is really important to understand that. And then just figuring out what your expenses are, deciding what is a need and what is a want. A need is groceries you need to eat. A want is going out to eat. So
where do shoes fall in that, Paula?
Well, I know you well too. those designer shoes might be a want, Angie.
Maybe that's where I went wrong all those years ago.
But then you could justify some of those as a need. I know,
exactly.
you gotta have shoes on the feet.
Footwear.
So you do. Yes, absolutely. And you made a good point. Some people do go to college and some don't, and that's fine. Everyone has their journey. I have seen some college age individuals that, they're out for the first time and they have money either from the parents or from college scholarship money or loan or what have you. And oftentimes that comes in at the beginning of the semester. So I think really they need to understand that they need to make that last if they're given money. I mean, truthfully, if they're going out and splurging in September, I call it having steaks in September could mean you have hot dogs in December.
For sure.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you could be like, really splurging and having a great time and going out to eat and going and having a great time and all of that. But if that money doesn't last for the entire semester, it could be pretty lean by the time you get to December or running out of money. So just really learning to regulate and pull back that spending. Spending in one area means spending less in another area. Yes. And that is true through all of life. It is.
It is.
Yes. And then just planning ahead. If they're going to go on spring break and they are going to pay for it, they're going to have to think ahead about saving that money to be able to buy those tickets or pay for the gas or the food or whatever.
Gotta plan ahead.
And that's just, again, that goes throughout. That's your goal. That's a short-term goal, but that's a goal is I want to do this or I want to go on that mission trip or whatever it is, and how are you going to pay for it? So it's just starting to think ahead about that. I also would say for young people just to caution them against excessive spending. And if they start to see themselves getting in financial trouble, go to their parents or go to someone. And, if there's a red flag, don't hesitate to speak up and say, I think I need help, or I'm getting it over my head. I'm in over my skis right now. So that's go ahead and make that okay for your children to come to you and say, I think I've made a mistake and I need help in getting this right again. So it doesn't get to be too much debt. Like you said, it can get sideways really quickly.
Yeah. I think that's important. I have children that are 23 and 25, and one has a credit card and got a credit card immediately into college at 18. And the other one didn't, because I prevented her from getting it and I put her on one of mine and started building her credit, had the conversation about credit and you don't need the credit card because we saw what happened with Lakin and she went nutty. I really like your recommendation to talk with your children and tell them it's okay when you have made a mistake and overspent, and you're using that credit card to go get McDonald's and every week and whatever it is, or the Starbucks coffee 3 times a week. Having that open dialogue there is really important, because if you don't have that as a parent, you can see your children go down a rabbit hole really quickly, and then it's a lot of times too late to help, or we're far gone, whereas we could have caught this earlier and been further ahead.
Right. Yes. I'm not all credit cards are bad. They can be great in an emergency.
Yes.
If they're paid off on time, they can be a good way to start building credit for down the road. But they have to be monitored. Yes. Because if you can't pay that off and it starts getting to be this bigger debt, it can result in poor credit history.
Yes.
And then that makes it harder down the road to get an auto loan or to be able to get a mortgage or to pay to be able to rent an apartment. So maybe start out with a low credit limit just so that there's a cap on it, so they can't get in over their head. Teach them to review the bill each month.
Yes.
Something.
Where did I spend my money?
Where did I spend it? Is it accurate?
Yes.
Does that look right? Are those my charges?
Good point.
Yeah. We should all be doing that.
Right.
So,
for sure.
Absolutely. The less debt they graduate with, the better. So, but.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's a great way to start monitoring that too, but they have to pay attention to it. I remember the summer I went to college, at the orientation, and there's tables lined up, and there's credit card tables, and they're giving out free T-shirts or free, coolers or whatever they're giving you.
Tons
and
of
it was like, ooh, I want that. And didn't realize what I was signing up for, and I had this card, and I got the bill about a month later, and there was probably only $500 or $600 on it, maybe, or less, and I freaked out. I thought, what is this? And so I had to take care of it, and no, not again. That scared me. I thought, I didn't realize exactly how that worked, but yes, I learned very quickly.
And when you look at,
you still have to pay the piper.
Exactly. And you
With
look
interest.
at that interest. Holy cow.
If it bleeds over into the next month.
Yeah. So you're never caught up.
Right.
Always behind.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were talking, I mean, credit cards are a necessary evil. Again, you have to build credit somehow. You just have to be very disciplined whenever you have them. But it's become a piece that in order to buy a house, or in order to buy a car, you've got to have a credit history.
Yeah.
And one of the easiest ways to do that is via a credit card. Just making sure that it's monitored and taking the steps like we've talked about.
And now there's points you can get and all kinds of cash back.
Lots of
and so there are incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And those can be attractive, and you can use those, but again, you still need to be able to pay that off at the end of the month if at all possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make concessions for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about our listeners out there that are in their 50s and they just haven't started saving? Is it too late?
No, it is not too late. It really depends on the situation, where they are. The first thing is if there is high debt or high credit card debt, that really needs to be dealt with. So that in conjunction with just a savings account and an immediate cash reserve is we feel like a first step to just at least getting a little more solid footing so that credit card use and being in debt doesn't just perpetuate itself.
Yes.
So there's that. If you are fortunate enough to have an employer that offers a retirement plan with a match, we recommend putting money at least up to the match because that's free money.
Yes.
That's
Free
on
money.
the table. Yes. So that's our first couple of steps. And then going into other areas of saving. But just starting with a little bit, like you said, $50 a month. Great. Start there.
Yeah.
And then just monitor it. Look for ways to increase your savings, either with a bonus or with a raise or any of those incentives that come along. And look for opportunities to increase your savings. And sometimes if they are waiting, they're kind of a little bit later in the game of getting started. That may mean downsizing a house or cutting back on some vacations or things like that.
Right.
It just depends on what somebody wants.
Yeah.
So what they have going on in their life. Everybody's situation is different.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And speaking from personal experience, we were talking before, Tanya's the saver. I was not the saver. But I can tell you that once I got my head around, I'm paying these credit cards off, what a good feeling that was. Just to, like you said, take small steps. It empowers you. It makes you feel, gosh, all I did was take $50 out of each paycheck and I've paid down this credit card. Such a good feeling. And then once you do it, I think most people, you're not going back, right? Once you've had high credit card debt, you never want that again.
Nope.
Like you said, when you found out you owed $500 or $600, you were like, never again.
In college, that was a lot.
Absolutely.
It's money you didn't have.
Absolutely. It could be a lot of money today for some people. And just those baby steps if you'll take those baby steps, it will encourage you. It will inspire you to do more because you'll start to reap some benefit of that. So I love what you've given there, just to take those small steps in order to see a bigger gain eventually. And I've always heard it's never too late to start ever.
No. Now, you don't want to be that person that, okay, I want to retire in 5 years and you have nothing. There's not, you're just going to have to make
realistic.
some decisions.
Yeah. Right.
And for us, when people say, well, I want to be really aggressive and in the market, I got to make up time. That's not really the appropriate for the majority of people, is to try and be really aggressive and take risks with their money to make up time. So that's where I would suggest you talk to a professional and say, okay, what can I do? What are some of the things that make most sense for me right now to at least put me in a better position? And retirement means different things to different people, so that may just mean you do have to work longer, maybe not in the job you're in if you don't love it. Go find something else to do, but that can be a great supplemental income along with Social Security or a pension or whatever it is that person's getting. So there's options out there. I would just say talk to someone about that.
I have been very motivated looking towards retirement as I got into my 50s. And I think just because I started to realize, well, I'm not getting any younger here. And the money I have up to this point, well, I wish it was doubled or tripled that, but here I am. And so for me, money became, I started looking at it differently, and I have always been a saver, but I started making moves and more goals towards financial security so that I didn't have to work so hard in retirement. So retirement does look different for everybody. I get that. But what age group do you see a majority of your clients come to you? Is it very, very vast?
It is vast.
Yeah.
It depends on their upbringing. Everybody's on a different journey.
For sure.
So some are getting started right out of high school or college. Some are getting established first and then getting a little bit of money together and getting their school loans paid off or their credit card and then coming to us. Some are, they're mid 40s, 50s, starting to think about retirement and wanting to know if they're on track or they're doing everything that they possibly can, or needing help with their retirement plans, or trying to understand what the rules are, because there's lots of different retirement plans out there depending on what industry you work in. So Tanya, it's kind of across the board. Some people come to us the first time when they receive an inheritance. And so that just changes their trajectory.
For sure.
It can. So I think just when you're going to talk to a professional, you just need to think about what it is you're looking for. Are you do you need help with taxes, or are you wanting to start a business? Are you wanting to save for a goal? Are you wanting to get out of debt, or do you just need help with investing, just understanding what you're doing? So people come to a financial planner for a wide array of reasons. Maybe they want to create a financial plan, have a roadmap to get to their goal, which often is retirement. But then again, we just have to define what retirement means. Is it retiring from the current job? Is it retiring to something else?
Right.
What does that mean?
And since you brought that up, I want to make a point that I find that when people they start, at least right now, people start looking at houses and talking about real estate. They start looking at houses online. And then when they reach out to a realtor, it becomes real, right? And then do I even dare to dream that I can buy a house because I've been in debt, or I've, whatever, I'm too young, I'm too, whatever. I feel like there are certain industries where people are hesitant to ask for help because financial planner, I don't know. I don't know if I can afford that. I don't know, so I really want to make a point that whatever your relationship with money is, and everybody's got a relationship with money, right? That don't hesitate to reach and ask for help with a professional. You're not going to shut the door in their face because they've got $50 in their account, right? Everybody needs help. Everybody needs
and just understand that there are different types of financial planners. There are some that are portfolio managers, some that are help individuals get out of debt. There are some that are certified financial planners. I think I've heard the term recently, financial therapists, and I think they probably have a place because some people have an unhealthy relationship with money because of their upbringing. So that's they would have a place. There's financial coaches, there's brokers. I would caution, though, when sometimes people use the term loosely, financial advisor, and they may not have any much education in helping individuals. So I always recommend to people, ask a lot of questions. Ask what their background is and what their experience is. Do they have any designations, or are they a certified financial planner? How do they charge? How do they work with individuals? It's okay to ask. Maybe meet with a couple of different individuals to see what the difference is, much like they would do in real estate.
Exactly.
It's just ask questions and seek to be educated. Because people will work differently not everybody works the same. So.
Right. And this hopefully is going to be a long-term relationship. So you need someone that just, as you mentioned, like a realtor, we want people that feel comfortable with us because I might not be their cup of tea. I might not have the right skill set, or they may not feel comfortable. They have to feel comfortable talking to their financial planner, because you're going to be talking about your goals and your dreams, your aspirations, and how do I get there? And it's got to be, like you said, a relationship built on trust. So they need to find that right person.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Okay.
Is there anything that we have not talked about or went over that would be tips that you would like to leave the listeners with?
From time to time, people ask me about, is there software, or are there apps to be able to track my expenses? And you can find those out there. There's Buddy, there's Wally, Pocket Guard. So there's all different kinds of apps out there. I think you have to find, if that's what you want to do, and those can be helpful. Make sure they're secure. A lot of people, I will say this, a lot of people like Mint. They've asked me about Mint, and it's going away in 2024. So that's, I don't know why. I don't know. I don't use a lot of those apps, but I just know I've had clients that have used them. Sure. And so, there are apps and there is software out there that you can find that can help you with your budgeting if you're not a spreadsheet kind of person. So, and they're not, you want it done automatically. I had someone ask me the other day, do you just have something that I can just fill in and it adds it up for me automatically? And we do, but there's things out there you can Google and find that software too. So I would say that just make it as easy on yourself as possible to be able to track your budget and your expenses. That is really the key, is just knowing what you personally have coming in and going out, and looking at all your sources of income.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And your expenses.
Love that.
Yeah. Great information. Thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it. And, I think the bottom line is it's a new year. Make sure that you're making the most of it. And if your goals are to save and budget, then just get started, no matter where you are in life, and then seek the help of a certified or a professional that you feel comfortable with, so that they can help guide you throughout the process. So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
for
much.
being here.
It was very delightful. Delighted to be here.
Appreciate it. We will catch you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
See ya. Thanks for listening to the Simply Authentic podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Be sure to listen to us on your favorite podcasting app.